All praises to God the Father through his Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. Hello, everyone. Today we want to finish up our series on the Daughters of Zion, Book of Isaiah, chapter 3. We went from verses 16 through 24. Today we'll be finishing up with verses 21 through 24. In our previous videos, we talked about these Daughters of Zion. And since that time, it's been a couple months, maybe now, and I have learned so much more that I could almost even go back and redo those videos. I won't do that. But these, the BBL that we talked about before, I've learned a lot about that. And it became so apparent, and I think we talked about it before, but I'll say it again. The translators had no idea what these Daughters of Zion were doing. They were, this was the 1600s. They're reading what Isaiah has written and they can't believe it. They are not alone. They couldn't believe it in the 1600s, and today, 2024, it is still this behavior that God points out to us. This arrogant, brash, obnoxious, unbelievable, unfathomable behavior that these women exhibit. And again, I don't have my word on the board there, but I learned a word, meretricious. Meretricious. It means to gain attention through vulgar behavior, to be like a prostitute. And that's what the Daughters of Zion are. These are black women. Clearly not all black women, okay? Some people don't like the term black. You know what I mean. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. I'm in the United States, so there are other women who behave in this manner, but the Daughters of Zion need to understand they're not every woman. They are in the ancestry of Jesus Christ. And these Daughters of Zion may talk about what other women do, but the Daughters of Zion franchise this foolishness. It comes from them, for the most part, not totally. The behavior is so unbelievable, and I won't make this video too long, but I do want to tell you this one thing. When in doing research, I saw this comment on YouTube from these black women had begun to go over to Dubai. I've known a couple women who went over to Dubai. I don't know what they were doing there, but it was a thing for a while. And they were getting arrested over there, taking that behavior over to Dubai, and they don't play that game over there. And those women got arrested for being too loud in public. Took that ratchet behavior over to Dubai, and they locked them up. There's a comment on a YouTube video about the girls getting arrested over in Dubai, and this guy's talking about a fellow, Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels was a YouTuber that had Zoom, and they say this man has died. I don't know, but they say he's passed away. But he used to have a YouTube show or a podcast or whatever, and he was he featured black females and why they couldn't get a husband or why they couldn't get a boyfriend, and he would just let them have it. And it was it was surreal, the conversations they had and the things they said to him, and the way he was so frank with them about how obnoxious they were. Here's a comment somebody made on this Dubai thing. They said Kevin Samuels used to say he used to get a lot of hate from around the world, saying people outside the USA thinking the black women on his show, that is, were paid actors, and no real women would act that way. Of course, everyone in the USA knew they weren't actors. Shout out to the black queens, proving internationally that their reputation is true. My point here is that the interpreters of the King James Version Bible couldn't believe it, and here we are in 2024, and people in other parts of the world don't believe it. It's difficult to believe. They believe these women were paid actors. We unfortunately know they're not. It's throughout our culture. So let's just get started here. That's enough of that. We'll go Isaiah 3:21. Please get your Bibles out and go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 3, verse 21, and let's read. The rings and nose jewels. So we'll start here. We're up top here. Rings are possibly condoms. Now, rings, when I looked it up in the Hebrew dictionary, it just was talking about jewelry. Rings that go on the finger. Possibly condoms. And I looked in the Greek side and it said to snuff a wick. So that's what made me think possibly condoms. Nose jewels. It could possibly be rhinoplasty. I never knew black women to get nose jobs, and I'm 70 years old. I never knew anybody unless they broke their nose. But since I've been doing my research, I've seen on the internet where they go to this surgery to start looking like Barbie. This called a Barbie surgery. I never heard of that, but here we are. Nose jewels could also mean easily led, easy to lead, like a farmer will put a nose ring in a bull's nose to make that animal, whom he otherwise wouldn't be able to handle, more easily led by having that ring in his nose. And then, you know what? It just hit me right now, and I'm just going to keep going here. Rings and nose jewels. What I'm noticing, rings and nose jewels could just mean a nose ring. R-I-N-G, a nose ring. Maybe, maybe not. But she's either easily led, possibly this nose jewel could be a ring. That just hit me just now. Maybe. But we'll keep going. Verse 22. Let's read. The changeable suits of apparel, and the mantles, and the wimples, and the crisping pins. So we learned about mantles in our previous videos where they talked about the layer of fat. The mantles is this layer of fat, and we were talking about the BBLs. And the BBLs, the layer of the subcutaneous, I guess the word would be just under the skin there, layer of fat that contains a chemical residue. It was injected with a chemical residue, poisonous chemical derivatives remain in that fat, and when the fat is processed, it through normal skin, the normal process of skin excretions and sweat, it produces also a smell. The changeable suits of apparel, it should read. So we're talking about this mantle. That's that layer of skin. The layer of fat beneath the skin is the mantle. Changeable suits of apparel that fit like a mantle. That's skin-tight clothing. The mantle is what produces the pH balance on the skin. Wimples is came from a dictionary definition that I had in the back of not a dictionary, but a Bible. It was a braided headdress of cloth or hair. Whether of cloth or hair is uncertain. Not sure whether they knew it was a braided headdress. Again, in reference to the hair, and then crisping pins are tattoo guns. It came back to the word number Hebrew 2754, sheret, and that had to do with needles. Let's see. Yeah, needles. So it's talking there about tattoos to carve into the skin. I was trying to see here, a graving tool or engraving, a pen, P-E-N. That's a tattoo gun. Okay, verse 23, the glasses and the fine linen and the hoods and the veils. The glasses came back to a Hebrew word number 1549, Gilayon, Gillallayown. I'm right here. This word Gilayon is glasses was a rolling mirror. Or it said, the way Galilean read, it said glass, semicolon, roll, and glasses is the mirror. A scrolling glass mirror is a cell phone, mirror being a selfie. So we're talking about cell phones and selfies here. That word 1549 took me to 1540 Hebrew dictionary. And there we had to denude, disgraceful, reveal, advertise, publish, shamelessly, show, and uncover. So we're probably talking here about these online fans or the other pornographic type of videos that these daughters of Zion are engaging in. Online pornography. Fine linen, the word fine, if you think refined, which is bleached. Fine linen, biblically, is bleached linen, where that linen is flax. Not, flax is sort of like the corn silk on a ear of corn. That little fine hair. So the flax really was from the papyrus, I think it's the papyrus plant. And it's, of course, much taller than an ear of corn. And but it resembles that fine hair. Linen is the flax. Not linen as a material, but linen the fiber. Just a single fiber. It's bleached blonde hair. And I put the hair in quotes. I'm right here because it's not hair. They didn't know what it was. But God here is talking about he's pointing these women out with this bleached blonde, quote unquote, hair. And probably real hair. I mean, these men can't imagine that you got women who would bleach their hair with potash. That is a caustic material that burns the skin. So they turned it, the fine linen. They were talking about bleached blonde hair. Isaiah was talking about bleached blonde hair. They turned it into fine linen. Hoods is a binding cloth. To violently turn. Hebrew number 6801. So to violently turn, I really probably should have put there this thing called a faha. That was what I learned. I think I put it here. Faha is a word I used here for stomacher. I may take it off here. It really should be here. Under hoods. Hoods is a binding cloth, and then it said to violently turn. The faha was a item that the ladies wore after surgery to bring down the swelling and promote drainage. We talked about drainage tubes in our other videos. I wasn't aware at that time. I knew it was saying something about tubes, didn't know that these women after this surgery it is a very painful and arduous healing process and they have to wear these they have to be bound to make everything go and fit and heal the way it has to, into the shape they want to be, right? The veils is just the super long hair, this fake hair that hangs down to their knees. I don't know if you've ever seen these little people that wear this very long, it's plastic hair. Again, the hair is in quotes. I mean, they're petting it, rubbing it, and flipping it like it's really their own hair. Let's go to verse 24 and read. And it shall come to pass that instead of sweet smell there shall be stink, and instead of a girdle a rent, and instead of well set hair baldness, and instead of a stomacher a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty. So the sweet to stink, we talked about that, the BBL, and that contaminated fat that processes itself through the skin and through the urine. It's bile. It's synthetic bile. It's not BO. It's not necessarily BO, but it's you got infection going on in there probably. The body is fighting and shedding off dead skin cells. And then you got the body that's also processing this contaminated layer of fat. Girdle to rent. A girdle is just that. Right here up above in the mantles, I didn't mention this. I'm going to jump back up here. I also saw the word loins. Skin tight apparel that fits, changeable suits of apparel that fit like a mantle is skin tight clothing. And then it said loins. That word came up. So here, it's probably talking about leggings. These leggings, God says that you're wearing your girdle. He's going to rip that girdle off of you. Well, we know what a girdle is. Most people do. It's wearing your outerwear, wearing your underwear as outerwear. Well set hair to baldness is this fake weave hair that's glued and sewn onto the head. A stomacher is a waist cincher that helps. We talked about that. Not quite as extreme as the faja. That's a post-surgery type of treatment. But the waist cincher is women who go around and they wear this very, very tight. Well, it is that a waist cincher. Pushes in the stomach, pushes out the bottom and top. And it's and then beauty to burning is pretty to ugly. And there God is pointing directly to these daughters of Zion, because to be burned up in the daughters of Zion vernacular is to be ugly. She's burned up. So when God says beauty to burning, you wouldn't know what that was. This is prophecy unless you were in that situation. So a lot of times people try to, interpret these prophetic verses. It's kind of hit or miss, but it is a hit when you know exactly what it is to be burned up. Beauty to burning is to be ugly. It's so much more that we could have gone through here. And maybe at some point we will come back to the daughters of Zion. But I think we got a pretty good idea of who and what they are and how saddened God is about his daughters of Zion. I think I'll do maybe one more video at some point. If anybody can bring his children back to him, I think he'd be very happy with you, because the daughters of Zion they are off the rails. Not all black women. One good thing about the Daughters of Zion, if you can say anything is good, is that it points directly to who the ancestry of Jesus Christ is. It's unbelievable. And unfortunately, this is them. Thank you for listening, and God bless us all.